Hi everyone. We've got a great guest this evening. She's a beauty. Oh, hi, Genevieve.
Hi. I'm totally wet. We've got a massive thunderstorm here.
Well, you
I
look
was
gorgeous.
outside trying to set up my filming, and I abandoned ship. So you've got me a bit soggy. Sorry.
Don't worry, you still look great. Can I just introduce you? So everyone, this is Genevieve Taylor,
I'll turn my
and she
sound up.
has the website Genevieve Eats or the Instagram, and she's a proud omnivore.
I am.
She's a female barbecue goddess. I
Thanks.
think we would
I
call
don't feel
you.
very goddess right now. I'm completely soaking.
No, you look great. And written a award-winning book, Charred, which is very much like, and that's all vegetarian barbecuing, and that's where it's quite clever.
Sure, yeah, it's a vegetarian barbecue book. I'm not a vegetarian, as you said, I'm an omnivore, but barbecuing is very meat heavy, isn't it? It's like the last bastion of the carnivore, and I don't think people want to eat like that anymore. I don't want to eat like that. So,
I think they want a mixture,
of course, exactly.
a
As
balance.
it should be, that's kind of how we should be eating, isn't it, I think?
Yeah, yeah. So I think it's a balance of sort of a meze of all. Now, you started off as a food stylist.
Yeah, I did. That was my introduction to food. I mean, I'm actually a trained biologist, and I worked as a TV producer making wildlife documentaries. That was my kind of
That's why your filming is so good.
well, I don't know about that, but that was my proper job, and I think that is the kind of root of my love of outside cooking, is because actually I really like being outside kind of amongst nature, and I've got my allotment, and I want to be outside, not inside. So I think that's probably why I've ended up being a fire specialist, because I don't want to stay in the kitchen.
Yeah, you don't want to be tied down with your apron on.
I absolutely don't. No, I'm too rebellious for an apron, and you know, it's a kind of way of sticking two fingers up at domesticity, as far as I'm concerned.
So how long ago did you give up your life with your biology degree?
When I was pregnant with my son,
Yeah.
and he is now almost 16. He's going to be 16 at the end of the summer. So yeah, quite a long time ago. And like a lot of new mums, we've all kind of, so many of us have been there. You have your baby and you think, I don't want to go back to that job. I can't do that job that I did before I had a baby. And, food was the thing since I was, really little, kind of 7, 8, 9, 10. I was always cooking. Food was the thing I felt like I was really good at. So it's just natural that, once I had my little boy and I couldn't do telly anymore, didn't want to do telly anymore, I started off doing bits of food. And my first foray into food, I had in Bristol where I live, we had the slow food market.
Yeah.
And I had a little stall there making chili sauce and chutney and jam. And I used to take my baby in his pushchair and sort of, with me. And so that was my first kind of food thing. And then from that, I did a bit of catering, did some weddings, set up a catering company, kind of found some confidence. Yeah. And then got a break to go into a studio with a food photographer and do some test shots. And the kind of food styling spiraled from that, really.
And then your book spiraled from the food styling.
Yes, it did, because do you know Absolute Press? They're part of Bloomsbury now. So yes. So I did the styling on a couple of books for them a long time ago, kind of 12 years ago probably now. And every time I was in the studio with lovely Matt Inwood from Absolute Press, I'd say, "Go on, Matt, when can I have a go at writing a book?" It's like a dog with a bone. When can I have a go? And I kind of ground him down, and he said, "Well, we've got this book on stew that we want writing by somebody. Send me a pitch, give me a proposal." And I did, and they loved it. And that was my first book, which was published in 2010, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you've done meringues,
yes.
You've done eggs, you've done how to eat outside.
I know, yeah. I mean, the fire thing, I love it, and that's my kind of specialism.
That's your brand now.
But I'm a cook. I can kind of cook anything, and I think part of the role of being a food stylist is that you can cook absolutely anything anybody asks you to cook.
Yeah.
So you know, baking, marshmallows, you know, all sorts. I can do it. I just want to be outside in my garden, really.
Because you've also now got the Bristol Fire School. You do events
Yeah,
in a normal life. You do consultancy. You
I do.
represent various barbecue companies.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you're just on fire, I would say.
Yeah, I like being busy. I don't like sitting around. So lockdown's been quite hard for me, quite a lot of sitting around,
Yeah.
um, which is why I've started making these sort of funny little films, you know, cookery films.
I've
And
got to ask you, your films are amazing. Have you got a handyman there who's helping you, or is it all you?
it's all me. It's all me and a kind of funny tripod thing that I put my phone on, and I sort of move it around and you
They're
know,
very
shout at
good.
the dogs. And oh, thank you. Well, I enjoy doing it. I enjoy doing it more than I thought I would, because I've done quite a lot of filming with, you know, crews and stuff like that, and I enjoy that. But I was always scared about doing my own stuff because I didn't feel like I had the technical ability to do the editing and stuff. But you know, lockdown kind of forced me to kind of have a go,
Yeah.
you know, and I had a go, and I actually quite enjoyed doing it. It's funny.
Well, you're doing very well. Um, Tell me, how many barbecues have you got in your garden or on your allotment?
Oh my goodness. Probably about 10.
Really? And which is your favourite?
It's like that's like asking me about my favourite child or my favourite
Okay.
book. I'm not going to say I've got a favourite. They do different things. So
Yeah.
I've got very, very simple. Netherton Foundry have made me very simple kind of cast iron flat plates that are off the ground that I can light a fire on. Completely simple. You know, it's literally like a big bit of metal
Lovely.
to put a fire on. Totally kind of analog. And then at the other end of the spectrum, I work with Kamado Joe, who make the kind of big ceramic red ovens, and they're quite super technical and not technical really, but they're very expensive. It's a big, serious bit of barbecue kit, you know. So
It's similar to the big green egg, isn't it? But it's not as expensive as the big
it's
green egg.
not as expensive, yeah. And I'm going to say that I think it's better, but I would because I work for them. But yeah, I really love it. I really love it. It makes amazing. You know, if you're into kind of low and slow meats, you know, brisket and that's absolutely amazing. And it does all sorts of things, you know.
It sort of locks in the juiciness, doesn't it?
Yeah, because it's essentially kind of a sealed. It's sort of a sealed unit, you know. And it's got these very thick kind of ceramic walls that you know, make the heat very even, and it can be as gentle or as fierce as you like. You've got a lot of control there, which is fantastic. But if the other end of the kind of spectrum, you know, just chucking a few logs and setting a little grill over a fire, that, you know, I love doing that, you know, really stripping it right back to basics. You know, that's why I like doing this, is sort of, you know, poking around in the fire.
Yeah, no, it's lovely. And you can create that sort of barbecue fire anywhere, can't you?
Sure, exactly. As long as you're safe and it's off the ground, and you know, it's just all the usual common sense rules about fires and sort of making sure it's out and taking everything with you. You know, not leaving anything where you
Yeah.
can.
And do you prefer wood or charcoal or a mixture, or it depends
I.
what you're cooking?
It depends what you're cooking. You get a hotter heat with charcoal. Charcoal cooks about 2 to 3 times hotter than wood.
Gosh.
And because charcoal, good, proper, sustainable British charcoal, which I'm very passionate about, is 95% pure carbon. So it's a very, very pure product. So you get very good, consistent results with charcoal, but you don't get any smoke because it's so pure. So if you want smoke, you have to add wood, and that's where smoking wood comes in. And then if you want a purely wood fire, like in a wood-fired oven or just like a bonfire kind of cooking kind of environment, then wood is brilliant, but each log is much more variable.
Okay.
Because of the structure of the log, you know, how dense it is, which part of the tree it came from, is the ring's really tight and close, and you know, there's a lot of variables with wood, the moisture content, you know, all of those variables mean that wood is you need to be a bit cleverer with wood. Like, you need to know a little bit more about how fire works and how to kind of work with the fire. Charcoal is, you know, good charcoal, light it, bang, cook.
I love it. We actually had Simon Stallard on at the
Oh
Hidden
yeah,
Hut.
lovely Simon. Yeah, I like
And
Simon. We've done some work together.
have you? And he turned around. He's got a wood library.
Mm.
That's
Mm.
what's.
Wood library, yeah. Simon and his wood library, yeah. I've got a wood shed that's got kind of big piles of logs in it. It's not quite as organised as Simon's wood library, but
Yeah. And tell me, of disposable grills, what would you recommend?
disposable ones, I would say please
Yeah.
don't buy them because they're so wasteful. The charcoal in them is very, very bad. It's not ethically sourced.
Toxic.
It's not ethically sourced. It's toxic. It's got chemicals in it. It comes from tropical rainforests, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And what I like to sort of shout about, and I can rant about this for hours, is that the provenance of our food has become part of the mainstream narrative of our shopping, hasn't it, these days? You know, more and more people think very carefully, and that's fantastic. You know, you might source a beautiful grass-fed steak as a special occasion when you can afford it and eat a bit less meat and all of that. So people are thinking along those lines, which is wonderful for the environment. But then they buy one of those disposable barbecues and cook it over really shitty fuel that's come thousands of miles from the tropical rainforests, and to me it doesn't make any sense, and I don't think people would want to do that if they knew. So it's one of the things that I sort of scream about really loudly, and I kind of get right on my high horse about it. And also, you can't cook properly on those things.
They don't get hot enough.
They don't get hot enough, but also there's just like a bed of fuel. You know, with barbecuing, the key skill with fire cooking is to create zones of heat. And you do that by not flooding the whole of your barbecue with fuel. You know, you put the fuel on one side, so you create a zone that you can cook directly on, and a zone that you can cook indirectly on, so no fire at all. And then you move your food between those zones. You know, and with those disposable barbecues, you've got no kind of wiggle room to move your food around. It's kind of on or it's off. So they're really bad at cooking.
So if people are going for a picnic, what sort of one do you recommend they take, if they do, when lockdown's over?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there are small barbecues that you can buy, like collapsible. You can get little ones that look like suitcases. They're a little bit heavier, but you know they're going to last you. And actually, a throwaway society is to be discouraged, isn't it, these days? I think.
I totally agree.
I do a little bit of work with a German brand called Turos. They make one, it's called a T1, that's like it looks a bit like a kind of pyramid, and it's fairly chunky, you know, it's a good few kilos. But if you're having a picnic that's out the back of your car or on the beach, it's amazing. I mean, I took it to the beach with my kids the other week and we cooked on it, and that's a fantastic little bit of kit, really neat.
Lovely, lovely. And what gave you the idea of your book, Charred? You just had enough of barbecuing with meat and you just thought there's so many delicious things?
It was kind of multifaceted, really. The more immersed I get in the world of fire cooking, you know, it's very much kind of man versus meat. There's a lot of really nice men out there. They're all nice. The barbecuing fraternity, they're so friendly and wonderful, and I love them all. But it's very meat heavy, and like I said at the beginning, I don't want to eat like that. Also, I've got an allotment. There's always vegetables in my world because I grow them. I've got loads of them. And it made sense to me just to sort of start chucking them over the fire, see what happens, you know, experiment. And there's nothing like a glut, is there, to kind of allow you to sort of experiment.
No, it's lovely. And you can sort of do Middle Eastern style.
Wonderful, yeah.
Meze, and add flavours and tahini sauces. And
I think the thing, if you think about meat, you know, the texture of meat, I love meat, I do love meat, but the texture of meat is very one-dimensional, you know, that kind of chew. But vegetables, you know, you've got beautiful silky soft aubergines, you've got kind of crunchy carrots, you've got kind of broccoli, you've got cauliflower, you've got tomatoes, you know, you've got so many different textures. And then when you grill them and you hit them with some fire, you add another layer of kind of flavour and everything, and then you take them off the grill and you can layer them up with, you know, crunchy things, spring onions and herbs and nuts and, you know, kind of creamy cheese, and you can make kind of a really a real sort of textural explosion with vegetables, I think, that you can't really do with meat.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there, definitely. So if people in a normal world come to your fire school,
Yeah.
how does it work? Do you run them monthly or weekly or?
Well, I only set fire school up at the beginning of this year, so it was a
Okay.
new thing to me. I did precisely one class, and then lockdown happened. So I've done one. I've done one lesson. I just announced yesterday that I'm going to be reopening in July with small classes. You know, we're all going to be outside in my garden. I've got a big space, so we can all be kind of spread out and stuff. So there's going to be a few classes this summer. There's not a lot of places, but if people are interested in fire school, they can kind of find me here and get on my mailing list. And I'm going to send out those classes on Monday to everybody in my mailing list. And I think they're going to fill up. You know, they're half full already, actually, with people whose classes I had to cancel. So, but the whole reason for setting up fire school was, it struck me that the fire is the thing. You know, that's the thing people need confidence in mastering, because once you know about how fire works and how to create temperature zones, and it's just cooking. You know, you can cook anything on a fire. The fire's the heat source. That's all it is. It's just the heat source, like your hob or your oven.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing complex about the cooking you do on it. It's just learning about the fire itself.
And it's such a brilliant way. And even if the weather's not nice, you can still cook outside.
I mean, this thunderstorm even stopped me, actually. It's totally lashing it down. But yeah, I mean, you know, you can cook outside. It doesn't mean you have to eat outside. You come in and eat, don't you, if it's cold. And that's fine.
But you're like Komodo Joe, they're famous for cooking the Christmas turkey outside,
Yeah,
aren't
exactly, because they do all that kind of so brilliantly. And once you've got a bit of kit like that, you know, it becomes an obsession. And I think the more people do barbecuing, the more confidence they get, and the more they will then do it. You know, if you just drag your barbecue out your shed twice a year, it's always going to be a slightly scary thing.
Yeah.
But every time you do it, you get a little bit better, and you can learn from people like me. And there's so many great barbecuers out there who want to share
just
that
learning
knowledge.
the basics is really, really helpful to let people know they shouldn't be scared of, you know, popping a potato or how to use this diversion heat.
The doorbell went. Eve, can you answer the door, hon?
It's nice and busy in your house.
Eve, that's my son coming home in the thunder. Eve.
But you're also a keen gardener.
I am I love gardening so much. I mean, again, it gets me outside, gets me out of the house.
You just don't want to be inside, do you?
Not
You're
really.
born outdoorsy. And you've been on the BBC Food programme quite a bit, and you also judged on the BBC Food and Farming Awards.
Yeah.
And you're the chair of the Guild of Food Writers.
I am. Yeah.
When did you take that on?
I've done it for 3 years now. So I've got 1 more year to go. Everybody's rummaging around now. Send them outside into the rain. Yeah, got 1 more year to go on my kind of slot, and I love it. You know, it's a really good way of kind of meeting other food writers, because writing is quite solitary, isn't it? So it's a really nice way to kind of meet other people.
And you had your awards last night. How did that go?
It went really well. You know, we did a little video. We recorded a kind of video with all the winners and announced them all on that, which was lovely. Not quite the same as a lovely big party with all sorts of people, but it is what it is, isn't it? It
is, and you can't fight it. But yes, you're definitely busy telling me that you're doing all these things.
I am. Yeah.
You like to keep twitchy.
I do.
I don't know if I should ask you about this, but I've got to, because it just made me laugh so much. Can you tell me about your beetroot bread with Paul Hollywood? You did a beetroot dinner party.
I don't know what to say about that.
It was very funny, I have to say. It was very funny and amusing.
Beetroot. You didn't like beetroot. And I'm not sure, I can't, it was a long time ago, but I think I persuaded him that he might like it a bit better when he left, but he was pretty anti-beetroot.
Oh, he seemed charming.
Yeah, he was charming.
Yeah, okay.
I really won that. You need to go. My son's come in and he's completely drowned. You need to go away because I'm doing this live thing and you can't be here standing at me, looking at me. Go away. Sorry. He's been out on his BMX in this thunderstorm and he's just like stood in front of me dripping like Mom.
It's obviously on the way up here because you were going to be filming something tonight.
Yeah,
weren't you?
I'm making a film for Kamado Joe. I'm doing reverse steer ribeye steaks, which are going to take me a while to cook. And my plan was to get them on, and they take 40 minutes or something. Then do this and then finish them off. But I haven't even started yet. It'll be a late dinner. It's fine. I'll have a glass of wine. It'll be all right.
Late dinner. It looked like you'd already started.
Well, I had when the rain came, I thought, sod it, I'm just gonna come inside and have a little glass of wine.
Yeah. And have you got another book on the horizon?
Yeah, I'm writing another book at the moment. It's a very simple barbecuing book. Again for quadrille. Yeah, and I've just started it, so it's in its very early stages. Be out next year.
Okay, because I love the artwork on the cover of Chard.
I know, it's great, isn't it?
Who came up with that, or who shot that?
It's Quadrille commissioned an illustrator to come up with it, and I said I wanted it to reflect kind of fire, and they took in the pictures. There's lots of pictures of my barbecue, like the grill surface, and she just took the kind of the wavy lines of my grill surface.
Yeah. Okay.
And, yeah, I love it.
And you told me that you had, because we've got them coming on next week, Netherton Foundry.
Oh yeah,
nice. Who I love. I love their stuff.
Yes,
so did they make that barbecue just for you, or they do that anyhow?
They tend to, we just sort of collaborate together in a very kind of loose way. It's not formal at all. They're really lovely, and they kind of make some stuff, and they then might bring it. Their daughter goes to university in Bristol, so if they're swinging into Bristol, they'll drop something off. They'll say, "Here, Jen, have a play with this. Tell us what you think. Give us some feedback, and then we can change it or whatever." So
you're piloting things for them almost.
Yeah, I mean, I just like them so much, and their kit is bomb-proof. You know, it's going to outlast my grandchildren, let alone me. It's absolutely bomb-proof gear, and it goes back to the not wanting to have disposable stuff. You know, I'd like kind of really decently made stuff that's going to last a lifetime.
And for a barbecue, you do need good metals at the core of it, don't you? Because otherwise they ruin. And your barbecues, did they live outside?
Yeah. There's too many to go inside.
Well, yeah, no, but that's what I'm just thinking, because things do get rusty in all the rain, don't they? So
yeah, I've got a really beautiful big Argentinian Parrilla style grill, which is like one of the open ones that's made by Ox Grills, who are another brilliant kind of British company, and that's made in marine grade steel. So that just lives outside, and that's fine. The others have got covers that I take on and off if it's raining
to protect them.
Yeah.
Okay. And apart from charring all your vegetables or your meats or whatever, what's your favourite sauces to serve?
Quite keen on butter. Anybody who follows my Instagram feeds will know I quite like butter. So chuck a bit of butter on everything. I think my number one favourite sauce is romesco. You know, the pepper and almond and bread and garlic, the Spanish thing. And I love that. Really love that. I like very punchy flavours. I've done a lot of travelling in my time, so I draw inspiration from all the places I've visited all over the world. So big, strong flavours, spices. I adore spices. Yeah. Because Bristol's quite a foodie centre, isn't it? It's got a really eclectic, broad base. Yeah, it has.
Of everything.
There's a real kind of vibe for ethical and sustainable and kind of local. You know, that's kind of a real. That's the way Bristol rolls, and it always has done. You know, I've lived here for 25 years, and you know, people are really, really keen on kind of environmental stuff, and that has trickled down, and that informs the kind of food and the restaurant scene here.
I think it's most probably, I'd say, I don't know if this is true, one of the greenest places in the UK, because people do honestly think and care.
Yeah, I mean, it's green in terms of trees. You know, there are trees and parks everywhere, but it's also green in terms of the outlook of its citizens, a lot of them. You know, and it's always been like that here. It's always been kind of quite a hippie capital.
Yeah, it is quite hippie.
I like it. That's why I like it.
Yeah, but if in a normal world, if we didn't have this dreadful COVID going on,
Yeah.
you would be touring, wouldn't you? Doing.
Yeah, right now I would be at the Taste of London Festival in Regent's Park.
Yeah.
And then from there I would be skipping on down to Kent to Black Deer Festival, which is a wonderful festival. And then, yeah, my whole summer was kind of weekends of festivals, you know, all through the summer. And that's obviously gone, which is, you know, it's hugely disappointing, because these things, this is my work, you know, this is how I spend my summers. But it's also, there's a real kind of network of us that do it, kind of these sort of fire cooks, and it's a brilliant kind of social thing as well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Are there many other girls, women like you, who do it, or is it mostly lads?
Mostly lads, which is, you know, I don't want to say that's how I like it, but I'm, you know, I am.
But it's fun.
I'm a real tomboy, and I always have been. And you know, you won't find me in the kitchen in a penny making cupcakes. That's just not my vibe. So it is mostly blokes. There are women who do it, and women are very, very good at fire cooking, because you need to be good at multitasking. You need to be thinking. You need to kind of compartmentalize all the dishes that you've got going on, and you've got to be good at doing that, and that comes naturally to women. So women are brilliant at it. So it's one of the things that I would like to do, is to give women more confidence that they can. And I think it's always been seen as man's domain. And actually,
it's odd, that.
Well, I don't think it is odd if you think about it. To me, as a biologist, in evolutionary terms, you know, obviously fire was the basis of cooking, but it's also it's about kind of preening and posturing, cooking with fire, isn't it? And being kind of macho. And I think it probably all boils down to sex. You know, it's like the kind of peacock effect, isn't it? They want to be impressive. They really want to be impressive, and they want us to be impressed with them poking around with their fires. And you know, it's their kind of thing that historically they've taken over.
God, I've never thought of it like that. That's quite interesting.
Yeah.
But I've spent a lot of time in Australia, and they're quite like that.
Sure, I mean, they're kind of like that, full stop, aren't they?
Yes, they are. But also, just then when you were working, it's almost like you've got an open range. So you haven't got a 6 hob top. You've just got a 24 hob top, however big it is. Sure. And you're shimmying your things around as if they're on the cool one or the hot one or the flamey one.
That is exactly how you do it. Yeah, that is exactly how you do it.
Yeah.
Just use it like a hob, use it like an oven. And once you, like I said, once you master the fire and you know how fire works and a little bit of the kind of science of fire, then and with practice, that becomes like a natural thing to do that.
I'm fascinated by cooking dirty. Do you cook dirty?
Yes, I do sometimes.
You like it?
It's just another surface of your grill. Like it's another bit of real estate of the fire. You know, just think about it like that. So yeah, it's just another place you can cook. I wouldn't light a fire just to cook something dirty, which, in case anybody doesn't know what that means, it just means chucking stuff directly into the embers of the fire. It's a fantastic technique, but you'd be a muppet to just do that on a fire, because you've got all the rest of the energies going off into the ether. You know, you want to utilize all of that energy. And if you've paid good money for good fuel, and I would really hope people would do that, you don't want to waste that energy just by chucking an aubergine in the embers. You know, you want to be utilizing all the areas of your fire, all the levels of it.
People often cook steaks dirty.
They do.
They don't believe that it doesn't come out with ash on, and you say, oh, it's so hot that it just combusts off it.
Exactly. It's a technique. It is a technique. I wouldn't say it was my favourite technique for cooking steak. I'm a really big fan of the reverse sear, which is when you cook a big fat steak low and slow and you cook it through. And that was the film that I am going to go make in a minute. You cook it low through to the temperature you want it at, or less than because it keeps on cooking as it's resting. Then you slap it over a flame and get that beautiful kind of caramelization and the kind of Maillard reaction. But you know, you kind of flip it around and do the low bit first, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, it is. It's really moist, and
Yeah.
you still have it rare. People think because it's long cook, it's going to be overcooked. It's not at all.
Because you're just, it goes back to control, isn't it? You're in control of that. You're cooking it very slowly, and the heat is very evenly going in through the middle of that steak, and you use a probe, so you get it absolutely on point to where you want it.
I'm going to ask you, what's your favourite kitchen tool?
My knife.
Okay, your knife.
Yeah. I'm not a big kind of tool and gadget kind of person.
But don't you like your thermometer? I've seen you use.
I've got a thermopen, and I couldn't live without that for barbecuing. It's an essential bit of kit for barbecuing. But in terms of general cooking, you know, I've got one knife that I love, and I use it. I bought it in New York when I was 30. My husband took me there for my 30th birthday, and I kind of brought it home on the plane.
Is it Japanese or Western?
It's a global knife, yeah, because I've got quite sort of little girly hands, and it's a global, and I find them light, and it's just I love it.
I love it.
Yeah, you know, a lot of those big chef's knives are very heavy. It's a big knife, but it's nice and light for me. It's you know, it works.
They last. I've got a full set. I've had them for.
But do you only use one? Because I've got loads, but I only use this one big one, really.
I've got three I like. I like the fish filleting because I just like it cuts very finely. And I like the kitchen knife.
Yeah.
Someone's just asked a question. What's it? What temp for a medium rare steak on the barbecue?
Yeah, so kind of 55-ish for rare, kind of 60-ish for medium. Something like that.
And well done should never be done.
Not in my house, but I mean, people, you know, people should eat what they want to eat.
Exactly.
I think kind of snobbery about cooking really pisses me off. And if people want to eat a well done steak, that's fine. I don't personally. I like my steak quite rare, unless it's ribeye, which is better medium rare, because you want to be able to render that bit of fat in the middle, and you can't do that with rare, really.
Yeah. Have you cooked at Meatopia?
I was due to cook there this year, which was really, really gutting for me, because I was it hadn't been announced yet, but I'm probably allowed to tell you now because it's been cancelled. But I was due to cook there this year. I've been a couple of times and done demos, but they've never offered me a slot for kind of cooking, which
That's amazing. Are there any other girls who cook there?
There are a few. I mean, there's not enough, but there are a few for sure.
Brilliant.
But next year I'll be back.
You'll be back. You'll be back with a vengeance and flames.
You're right. Yeah.
What's your
You asked me a question, but it cut out.
Oh, okay. I said you'll be back, but with a vengeance and flames. Yeah. You'll have to get yourself a whole suit like DJ Barbecue.
No, I don't look good in spandex. That's not my thing.
And well, you do have a very nice style, I say. So you don't need to change anything. And what is your favourite food-related film, book, TV, chef?
I don't know. I mean, I don't watch much telly. I don't really go to the movies. I'm always cooking. There's a series on Netflix called Ugly Delicious that I really enjoy. I watch that with my kids, and it's kind of it takes quite serious subjects, looking at kind of food culture and food history and kind of food anthropology, but it presents them in a very kind of light-hearted way, and I really enjoy that with the kids.
That sounds good. We've not had that before.
Haven't you? Ugly Delicious, great. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we'll look at that, definitely.
It's David Chang, the Momofuku chef.
Okay, brilliant. Well, listen, I think we better let you go and sort out your...
I need to cook this bloody steak.
Yeah, I can see you need to get it going. Sorry.
Otherwise it'll be midnight before anybody's eating.
Can I just ask you one last question? Do you get your meat from the same place, or does it come from all sorts of different delicious places?
I get it from all over the place. It's a very nice butcher I visit in Bristol. I work with different butchers. I'm just about to start doing some work with Piper's Farm down in Devon.
Oh,
So yeah, but I, try to get good meat where I can, and I'd rather eat, less good meat than and more vegetables.
yeah, it's all about quality instead of quantity.
Sure.
And I think we don't need as much meat all the time.
No, we really don't.
We really don't. But anyhow, it's been fantastic meeting you, Genevieve. Keep busy, as I know you will. And thanks for sharing your flaming tips.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.